Oh, there we go. Starting the headland. Okay, we got both trucks in the field. A tiny bit soft, but not bad. Dad's motoring along over there, bringing the drill. We're gonna get loaded up for the first time. And Seed Hawk or Vaderstad is coming first thing in the morning to show us how to use the drill and do all the setups. And so we got a lot to learn in the next 24-ish hours. How to use the drill, how to fill the drill, how to calibrate, and so on. Yeah, we're just having a little bit of difficulty finding the sweet spot. We screwed up. Well, we made the right decision with the information we had at the time, but in the grand scheme of things, we screwed up, and I'll tell you why. So we went and we got filled up last night. It's the first time we've ever used a semi to fill up. First time we ever filled on this new drill. So a lot of things were new to us. But we had figured out that if we filled up tank 2 and 3 with fertilizer and 1 and 4, oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's talk tank sizes first. On this guy, tanks go from 1 to 4 to the back. I shouldn't need to specify that, but oddly enough on our other drill they went 1 to 3 from the back to the front, which was really awkward and confusing. Anyways, tank 1 is 60 bushels. Tank 2 is 480 bushels. Tank 3, 300. Tank 4, 160. Now, the configuration is a better word for canola is very simple. Put canola in this tank, put fertilizer in the rest. We're only putting canola on it between, I don't know, 4 and 6 pounds per acre. You can actually get 2 mini bulks in there, so you can get 2,000 plus pounds of canola in there. And I did the math somewhere. We would, at our rate for canola, it's up here, we would have just shy of 50,000 pounds of fertilizer on, and we're putting it on at about 350, give or take, which gives us enough for 142 acres on a fill, which is great. That's that's 2 fills in a little bit a day. If we have any moves or problems, 2 fills a day. Fill in the morning, fill at like 2 in the afternoon or 3, and you're good. You're talking upwards of 8 hours. Well, we're not doing. Anyways, we got lots of time. Less fills means more work for me to do on other stuff. We had initially figured for wheat or cereals in general that we would put the 60 bushel and the 160 together, because we typically do our wheat at about 2 bushels an acre. So we would have 220, we would have enough for 110 acres. Or for durum, we plant our durum around 2.2 bushels an acre, gives us 100 acres of fill. And we would have, I'm just trying to find where I did we would have 128, sorry, we would end up, if we filled tanks 2 and 3 with around 41,000 pounds of fertilizer divided by 322, comes out to, I think it was 128, yes, 128 bushels, acres, Jesus, 128 acres of fill, which is pretty good for cereals. Cereals take a lot of logistics. And since that wouldn't really change from wheat to durum, it would just be our rate determining factor would be the seed. So when we switch over to durum, we'd lose 10 acres of fill. Not the end of the world. Here's where things got tricky on us last night, is that when we treated our durum, it fluffed up more than we thought. Oh, I shouldn't necessarily say that is the root cause. When we filled tank number 4 last night, we should have been able to get about 9,600 pounds in. We'd only get about 8,100 pounds in, which is 135 bushel, I think is what it came out to, which is a 16% reduction on capacity. Now, there could be a lot of reasons for that. We never filled these right full of fertilizer just because we assumed, hey, we might need to change something sometime, because this morning's going to be our first kick at the can. So we got 16% less than we expected. Now that could be that the scales are off, could be that it had a negative tear on the scale before we started, didn't notice it. Could be that the scales are just off on their ratio. Could be that the tank is smaller than it's supposed to be. Could be that the durum was light. I can't see that being, last year was a very dry year. But it seems like the durum just fluffed up more than we expected. That's what I'm going with. Now we'll get a better idea as the day goes on. But we actually stopped at that point because we said, wow, that's not going to give us 100 acres of fill, not even close. It's going to be down to like 80 of fill. So if we assumed, here, let's do some quick math. If we assumed 60, if we assumed we did tank 1 and 4, so 60 and 120 gives us 220. Divided by 2.2 is 100. And then we take our 16% off, assuming that the durum is the cause of the issue. Once it's treated, it fluffs up. That's 84 acres of fill, and we were really hoping to be around 100. It's 15%, 16%. It's a big difference. So we scratched our heads and go, well, wait, we've got some more options coming, because Vaderstad's coming this morning. We've also ordered some critical spares and some parts that we might need. So we've ordered a spare meter motor. There's some of these PM4s, whatever they are. I think they're just those nodes. We ordered one of those. We ordered a set of black rollers. So as it stands right now, we went gray, black, black, gray. But for canola, we were going to need blue, which we have blue, black, black, black. We want to keep everything the same just so that we can keep consistent cal factors and blah, blah, blah. What else? Oh, we got a couple seed shanks coming, some U-bolts, some hose, couple other things I can't remember. There was a bunch of stuff we ordered just to have our critical spares. So we're going to have the ability to flip tanks. And before we were sitting there going, well, we've only got 2 gray and 2 black. it's kind of going to have to be this way. But now with the third set of black coming, if we move so what we're going to do, we're going to seed out that durum, and we'll see how everything comes out. If it says consistent with acres. Also, Dad just took the grain truck to Precision Ag to get it weighed to see how much we actually put in there. We'll seed out that 8,100-ish pounds that are in there. And that should also empty this one. So we're going to seed out of this one, or fertilizer alone. And this one should run out first. Then we'll switch to this one. And then the seed should run out, if everything's correct. If that's the case, what we're going to do is we're going to clean the fertilizer out of this one. We're going to swap the meters, not the meters, but the rollers. And we're going to put our seed in the 300 bushel tank, and we're going to put fertilizer in the rest. Okay? Now what that does is it changes things a little bit. I've got the numbers written down if you can look through my chicken scratch. We end up with 37,000 pounds, 37,100 actually, pounds of fertilizer by doing that. We're assuming the fertilizer is 53 pounds per bushel. I cannot remember, I didn't look at the blend sheet. If it's 53 pounds per cubic foot, we're in even better shape. Being that there's 1 1/4-ish, it's not perfect, but it's a good rule of thumb that I use. We would actually get 25% more product or more acres out of the same product kind of thing. Because we're assuming 53 pounds per bushel of fertilizer. I could actually go back and do the tonnage, but it doesn't really matter. We know what's going in there for weight, and we'll be able to check it later. But we'll have 37,100 pounds of fertilizer on if we do 1, 2, and 4. That would give us 322 pounds per acre. I got that one right this time. 115 acres on a fill. And we think we will get fertilizer as advertised in there, if not more. Now, going to tank 3, 300, but we're going to take that 16% off our fluff factor, because that's kind of going to be our worst case scenario in my mind. Probably there's other scenarios out there that are much worse, but that's what we're going to go with. So 300 times 60 pounds per bushel times 0.84, so we're taking 16% off, gives us approximately 15,120 pounds of seed at 2.2 bushels or 132 pounds, however you want to do the math. That's 114 acres of fill. So we're 115 on all the fertilizer, we're 114 on the seed. You really couldn't ask for a better balance. Wow, look at the wind. I don't know if it shows, but that thing's bouncing like crazy just in the wind. Neat. Yeah, you couldn't ask for a better balance unless you had more space. But I think for a start, if we can average anything over 100 is good in my books. Now, why we didn't do it this way before? To be honest, it seemed easier. We also had figured out that we would be around that 110, 115 mark. And we still might have one field where we flip that to wheat, just so that I got a little bit of a trial going on with some treatment. So we'll see what we do. I can't recall if we ever did that scenario. I was playing around with a spreadsheet Can't recall if I ever did that scenario, but this could work really well for us. Well, we had some issues. Still, I don't think we're 100% in the clear, but it's first day, brand new equipment. We knew there was going to be some issues. It seems like I haven't set foot in the cab of the tractor all day. It seems like things are working. Seems like Dad's got a good grasp of it. When we first started, we went through, and I should have apologized. I would have filmed this. I don't know if you can hear, but it's pretty viciously windy out. Yeah. And I'm not square to the wind. The wind's coming pretty much dead north. So, we got going, and we had something plug up. Not really sure why. Whatever. We did our scratch test. Yeah, okay. And then we got, I don't know, maybe a quarter mile. And we found out that the rollers we got, which are the gray ones, they call them 120cc, they're only good for up to about, I'd have to go check on the website. I don't know why I was told we needed gray rollers. That's what guys were using with seed. Don't know who told me that, so I can't point fingers at anyone. But the gray rollers are just not going to work for us. The good news is we have one set of unused ones that we'll be able to return. We got another set for, I guess, probably doing lentils. They'd be about right. Anyways, so we had the wheat, the durum, in the back tank. And at whatever Dad was doing, whether it was 4.5 or 5 mile an hour, it couldn't keep up. It was maxing out the motors. So our salesman was already here, like the guy that sold us the drill, Colin. He was already here. We ordered a bunch of critical spares, like a motor, a PM4, a couple of shanks, a couple of U-bolts, and some hose. And he was actually bringing some sprayer parts for me too. He was already coming down. We'd ordered a set of black rollers. So we yanked them out the grays. We put the blacks in. We did another calibration. That seemed to be working better. But we kept on having issues with, it seemed like the fertilizer wasn't putting out enough air. And so, well, that's a bit of an issue. Well, we tried bypassing the air guard. And that gave us an extra 100 RPM on the fan, but not quite enough. Clark, the product engineer and tech guy, he said, well, do you think it's just bottlenecked on suction? I said, hell, it could be. So we took off the air guard. We left the radiator on, I should say, the air guard snorkel kit we took off. And we put it on. And since doing that, Dad has gone, well, 2 laps of that headland. So, mile and a bit, non-stop, no plugging. So, that's working. I don't know how it's going to work when it's on, because we're still bypassed right now. The other thing is, we got to the north end of the field, and they turned, because they had that plug, that's when we went to take that air guard snorkel off. And we had a ruptured coolant line for our DEF cooler. So I had to run to town and find a chunk of hose to splice in there. So it's been a morning of battling. I didn't in any way expect this to go flawlessly. I honestly think that in general, the seeder's probably working better than I expected. I thought there'd be some gremlins or some tweaking operationally to make it work right. It seems like once we got it set, it's... Well, I'm saying first day was not a screaming success, but definitely successful. I don't know what the total is. I was over fixing some bushings on the sprayer. Just sent Zach home. Come over here, park my truck there. And he was, I don't know, 100 yards that way, so I walked out to him. Got to the end, he just looks at me and goes, I'm empty. So I want to say we did 66 or something like that on the first tank. And that one should have gave us 105. So really in half a day, we knocked out a quarter, which is good. And like this afternoon, we did some screwing around with the GPS just to fine tune it. Overall, very impressive unit. I can't wait to actually use it.